Hey, Stoney here with another game of Mechabellum. This is a game between Kepals playing as a supply specialist here at the bottom against Eliminati playing as a marksman specialist at the top. Starting on round one, we're looking at fans, steel balls up against Stonecrawlers and crawlers. I think right now I am slightly favoring Illuminati's starting board just because of the slow-moving fence up against the Stormcrawlers gets absolutely destroyed, and the steel balls aren't necessarily great against crawlers. I wonder if Kepal is going to continue to add on a bit of chaff clear. It looks like it's just going to be more chaff, so you'll fight fire with fire. All right, it looks like Illuminati is going to add his own version of chaff clear in the form of fans as well. I think this is doable because we're not really expecting a whole lot of chaff coming in, and we are expecting the Stormcrawlers to do the brunt of this chaff clear on the other side of the board. All right, round one goes pretty much as you expected. The Stormcrawlers are getting a ton of value because of the crawlers tying up the opponent's unit. All right, some very interesting cards here. Let's take a look. Mass-produced Sledgehammers, great card if you're using Sledgehammers as a frontline unit and also as chaff. It reduces the Sledgehammer's cost by about half. Subsidized Marksman is also interesting. Seeing how they already have the Marksman here, so it might be going into Marksman carry for Illuminati. One thing with Sledgehammers that are mass-produced is that they are going to have a bit of an issue taking out even smaller units like these Marksmen. The 30% reduction in damage is quite significant. So unless you're really prepared to add some more larger damage dealers behind your sledge lines, it's a little bit more difficult for you to carry using just mass-produced Sledgehammers. That's going to be even more so with the additional Stonecrawlers and, of course, the two Marksmen. Now, right now, there's a bit of a chaff clearing problem here at the top. At the bottom here, the Sledgehammer should provide sufficient chaff clear compared to what they had in the first round. And I wonder, with these steel balls running forward, if it's just enough to draw the fire from the Stonecrawlers, allowing the Sledgehammers to finally connect with a larger unit like these Marksmen or these Stonecrawlers. I still don't really think that the blue player is going to win here, but we'll see. I mean, there are 3 squads of Stonecrawlers, so a lot of damage, even if it's up against Sledgehammers. All right, some interesting card. Deployment spec was picked up because it works really well with mass-produced anything. You want to get as many of those units as you possibly can. Barrier is a great card to pick up if you're looking to go into Giants. It makes sense for Illuminati, but he ended up picking the deployment spec as well because he has subsidized Marksman. So it seems like the board is now taking shape with one side going just a whole lot of Sledgehammers and the other side potentially going with a whole lot of Marksmen. In the long run, I think the Sledgehammers will eventually win out. The Marksman, while powerful, does not have the speed to rapidly take down these Sledgehammers. And look at the technology on the Marksman. He does not run rapid reload as well, which means as they get leveled, their firing rate is still just going to be 3.1 seconds per shot. So that's not enough to beat this overwhelming number of Sledgehammers. Arc Light gets added to help with the chaff clear. And I wonder if it's going to be more Marksmen. There's 1 more Marksman here. So 2 Arc Lights, 1 Marksman added on the Illuminati's board. I'm very curious about this Marksman position, as he would have seen the level up on the steel balls. So I would probably prefer the Marksman here to deal with the steel balls a little bit more. Because remember, the steel balls, once they get into range, they're going to attract pretty much all of the fires from Stonecrawlers. So if you're not sure that your Stonecrawlers are going to get to the steel balls before it gets to them, putting a Marksman here will be actually quite beneficial. Now, with 4 squads of Stonecrawlers, I think right now Illuminati just needs enough chaff to kind of tie the units down so the Stonecrawlers can really deal the damage to this firing line here. And here's how I was talking about with the steel balls, right? It's getting very close to the Stormcallers, drawing an extra volley from all 3 Stormcallers, giving the chance to the Sledgehammers to do a bit more damage. However, this round still goes to Illuminati. I think the Sledgehammers right now simply does not have enough output. Now, don't count them out just yet, because we are seeing right now 7 squads of Sledgehammers on the board, potentially going to be more with deployment spec, and the moment they take mech rage and range, they're going to be absolute beast of damage dealing. So don't count them out just yet. Now let's take a look at the unit cards at round 4. Scorpions are excellent against Sledgehammers. Mustangs are great at supporting the Sledgehammers and also to provide some sort of a frontline chaff. All right, it seems like it's going to be Scorpions versus Sledgehammers, and the Mustangs here to help out with a bit more chaff grip. And here's the big button click on the Mech Rage and 3 more squads of Sledgehammers. Mech Rage on its own without Scorpions on the board do decent. With Scorpions on the board, they simply just run a little too fast, too forward, and they're going to get shut down by the Scorpions a little bit too quickly. On Illuminati's side, I see the Scorpions, but I would love to see more chaff. Yes, 4 Scorpions, super sexy setup, but your current damage dealers, the Stormcallers, require a thicker line of chaff to hold their units down so you can really start firing at them. The question is, what sort of chaff you're going to put? Counterintuitively, I'm actually favoring a giant, like for example, Fortress with Shield, because all these Sledgehammers are going to destroy things like fans or crawlers. But giants, on the other hand, against mass-produced Sledgehammers that only does 400 damage per shot, while having about 70,000 HP of their own, is going to stand for quite some time. So as long as you get rid of these steel balls, which should be fairly straightforward, you will have a pretty good time. Scorpions here are actually doing great as tanking. Right now, they do not have field maintenance, but they do have armor. And against mass-produced tanks, armor might work. Yeah, okay, it was a huge round to Illuminati. So far, a perfect game. And we'll see if Kepal has anything to combat that. Wasp Swarm is interesting for distraction. Intensive training is pretty good, especially for Illuminati, who's going potentially into a carry marksman setup. Supply Specialist is a little late. It seems like the game might end in about 1 to 2 turns, so that you might not get profit on that. So it looks like both teams are picking up the Wasp for different reasons, right? For Kepal, he wants to distract the marksman, being the only anti-air on the opponent's team. And Illuminati is using it as more of a defensive unit, knowing or expecting the Wasp coming in from the opponent. Range is finally picked up for the Sledgehammers, and now they're officially into carry unit territory, and we'll continue to add even more Sledgehammers. I think it's not a terrible idea. I mean, right now it's only 100 supplies each, so even with this many Scorpions, Sledgehammers are probably going to be okay. But the problem with Sledgehammers in this format, right, the way that he's putting these down, these units, is that all of them are going to be firing at a line, and that maximizes the damage for the Scorpions. The Sledgehammers are doing well, though. With so many Sledgehammers and so much damage output, there's not a lot of speed or fire rate that is coming from the opponent's base or the board that's going to take out of them before it destroys the board. And now with that huge round, you can see how many levels, how many upgrades there are on the Sledgehammer. So right now, Kepal can essentially double its damage output for very cheap. Underground Threat is picked for Kepal, anything to slow down and distract the units on the opponent's board, and Illuminati picked the Underground Threat as well as a defensive ability. All right, let the upgrade begin, and maybe let's drop. Whew. All right, at this point, I think he's just going to go with a lot of sledgehammers, and it's going to go layers of sledgehammers to use them as chaff. I mean, why not? These are double upgraded. These are 100 supply, just like a pack of fans right here. So why not use the extra sledgehammers? Now, I wouldn't mind putting them just a little bit more forward, so that you kind of have like this stream of chaff slash sledgehammers going into the opponent's board. I'm not seeing a lot of upgrades. I would love to see more upgrades. It doesn't matter if it's mass produced. The first upgrade on a unit increases its damage for 100%. So it doubles its damage for only half the cost of the unit. It's always worth it for the first one. The subsequent ones, it depends on the breakpoint. I always take the first one, even with mass-produced sledgehammers, because a level 2 sledgehammer, which is worth 200 supply, mass-produced, is still better than a level 1 sledgehammer that's not mass-produced. It looks like there's going to be... The Illuminati is going to need a few more scorpions. He really does not need level 2 scorpions. I think that was a bit of a waste. The only reason to take level 2 scorpions at this point is for the HP, not so much for the damage. He was comfortably one-shotting level 1 and level 2 sledgehammers as a level 1 scorpion. Yeah, so that was a bit of a waste. He could have had an extra scorpion to provide that additional firepower. All right, things are getting a little bit scary, but it's not hopeless. I think having more scorpions are definitely going to do the job. Rhinos, not a terrible decision. Getting rhinos, putting photon on it, or even final blitz is going to work really well. Photon final blitz is going to run them straight into the tank lines, and once they're in range, they're going to do a lot of damage. But it looks like the unit of choice here is going to be a level 4 Wraith. If he decides to put armor on this Wraith, then nothing can kill it, with the exception of the newly dropped melting point. He might... Nope, he's going to continue to go on this Wraith. Ooh, triple tech sledgehammers. Now, this is where things get a little out of control, because triple tech sledgehammers does shut down range on the scorpions. And without range and with 7 meters per second, these scorpions are going to keep walking for another 6 seconds. That's a lot of seconds. And with so many sledgehammers, that's a dead scorpion before it can even reach the target. Armor did get picked on the Wraith, but I think he's overlooking the melting point card, which gets sold, interestingly enough. I'm pretty sure Kepal is going to bring Son of the Melting Points back next turn, knowing that there's a level 4 Wraith with armor. Alright, Illuminati is pushing with temp range. There's no temp range coming down here just yet. The Scorpions are currently outranging the Sledgehammers, but just by 5 meters. The moment the Sledgehammers gets them with the Electromag, the Scorpions are kind of forced to move forward. And there's just so many Sledgehammers. This is beautiful. Now, it really all comes down to this melting point. Can this melting point survive? And once it does, can it get this level 4 Wraith? And I think the answer is yes. Alright, there's tower. There is an orange man shooting at it, so it could get a little bit dicey. But the orange man is getting shut down by the sledgehammers. Ooh. Another great tower. And I wonder if this scorpion is able to get this melting point. And yes, it can get the melting point, meaning that these Wraith will reign supreme for the rest of the round. Whew. All right, getting very close. Sticky oil bomb, such a powerful ability. It's stopping a lot of units in its track, not allowing them to use this superior range on the opponent's force. Triple melting point gets added. It serves 2 roles. 1, it serves the role of getting rid of these Wraith, and 2, it will help get rid of these Scorpions. And I'm very surprised that the Illuminati is sticking with the Wraith, knowing that there's already melting points on the board. I don't think that's the right way to go, but we'll see. And I'm also surprised that not a lot of tanks get upgraded. At the very least, I will start upgrading the back row here. Yeah, some of these tanks, they're doing the maximum damage they can do in a single round, right? So if you're looking at like different tanks, level 2, they do about 13,000, which means level 1, realistically, you should be doing about 6 to 7,000. So this level 1 here, this 17,000 damage, so it's really good tank here. I would definitely upgrade this guy. I'll probably upgrade this guy as well. This guy on the edge gets an upgrade. Sometimes you're just looking at the damage they've done in the last round, you have a pretty reasonable estimate on just how much damage and how much contribution they've made to your board. Ooh, this fire is pretty deadly. It's getting rid of all the small chaff, which means if the tanks cannot get a lock onto these scorpions, they're gonna have a really bad time. And once the tanks are gone, these late arriving fans are gonna provide such a wonderful screen, so you really don't have a lot of chaff here. Now remember, these are level 1's melting points up against some of the level 4, level 3 marksmen. So yeah, but seeing how the chaff is all dead and we're just left with 3 melting point against a line of stormcallers, I think the melting points will get this one, especially the one with the steel ball production. And that means more rounds. All right, another round of units. Sandworm might be interesting just to serve as a mega tank for Kepal. Vulcan is interesting if you get range and scorching fire. They actually are pretty good against tanks. The problem with Vulcans is it gets shut down by electromag, so that's probably not the greatest idea. Overlord is interesting, even if it's just for sell money, but it's interesting just to have something there. Defensive War Factory gets put down for the sole purpose of getting rid of these fire callers. The Sandworm gets picked on the opponent's side for Illuminati. There's no tech whatsoever on the Sandworm, not that it really matters, because the moment it pops up, its tech is just gonna get shut down by these Sledgehammers. Electromag comes out for the Stormcallers, so they're both with extremely heavy anti-tech capabilities. And once the armies clash, there's going to be a very few units that have any tech left. Now, I do favor Kepal's board here, just because it's a lot harder to intercept tank shots than it is to intercept Stormcallers. But we do have so many Stormcallers. Right now, we're looking at what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 squads of Stormcallers. It is actually more Stormcallers than the missile interceptor can reliably handle. Some of these rockets will land, and if one of them lands on the actual war factory, that's going to be extremely bad news. But it looks like there's going to be a fire and tower capture with so many sledges left over. This is a very one-sided battle. And I think that's it. That's game for for Illuminati, and the winner is Kepal. So very good game, very fun game to watch with so many mass-produced Sledgehammers that are triple teched. Yeah, so thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.
Prepare your tactics. Mechabellum's calling. Deploy your fortress. The battlefield's alive with swarms.